The overhead press. The overhead press is the squat of shoulder training, the foundation, the movement, everything else gets built around. It targets the anterior deltoid primarily, with the lateral head, traps, and triceps all contributing to keep the bar moving. It's not an isolation exercise, it's a system test. Every weak link in the shoulder shows up the moment a bar is overhead. But here's what most people miss. The barbell and dumbbell version are not the same exercise. The barbell locks the wrists into a fixed path, maximum load, pure force production. The dumbbells allow each arm to move independently, increasing range at the bottom and demanding more from the smaller stabilizing muscles the barbell never reaches. Both belong in a program. Neither replaces the other. Elbows slightly in front of the bar at the bottom, not flared wide. Press in a straight line. The bar should nearly graze the face on the way up. That's not a mistake. That's the most efficient path the shoulder has, the lateral raise. The lateral raise builds the one thing nothing else can, width, shoulder width, the kind that changes your entire silhouette. The lateral deltoid, the middle head, is almost exclusively trained by this movement. Press all you want. The lateral head barely shows up to a pressing exercise. This is its exercise and only its exercise. Here's where it gets interesting. The lateral raise is not a lifting movement, it's a resisting movement. The eccentric, the lowering phase, is where the lateral delt is under the most tension. Most people treat the descent like dead time between reps. That descent is the rep. Too heavy, and the traps take over immediately. The shoulders shrug, the neck disappears, and the lateral delt contributes nothing. Slight forward lean, elbows leading, pinky slightly higher than the thumb at the top. Slow it down. This exercise rewards patience and punishes ego every time. The front raise. The front raise is the most unnecessary exercise most people program, and the most useful exercise most people ignore. Both are true depending entirely on how you train everything else. If your program already has overhead pressing and incline pressing, the anterior delt doesn't need more work. It's probably already overtrained. But here's what most people miss. If pressing is limited, injury, mobility, programming gaps, the front raise becomes genuinely valuable. Pure anterior delt isolation with no tricep involvement and no stabilization demand. Dumbbell allows natural rotation. Cable keeps tension at the bottom where dumbbells go completely slack. Stop at eye level. Above that, the traps take over and the anterior delt checks out entirely. The Arnold Press. The Arnold Press looks like a party trick. A rotation tacked onto a shoulder press to make it more interesting. It isn't. The rotation at the bottom, palms facing the body, elbows low, rotating outward as the press begins, forces the anterior and lateral delts to work together through a longer range than any standard press allows. A regular dumbbell press starts with the muscle already shortened. The Arnold Press starts from full lengthening and works the complete arc. Here's where it gets interesting. The bottom position is essentially a front raise with bent elbows. Deep shoulder flexion before the press even starts. That's exactly where most pressing movements skip entirely. The trade-off is load. You cannot press as heavy here. The range is longer. The shoulder works harder. Go lighter. Move slower. Let the rotation complete fully before the press begins. The Arnold Press isn't a heavier exercise. It's a smarter one. The cable lateral raise. Same muscle. Same movement. One critical difference. The cable keeps tension on the lateral delt at the bottom of the movement when the arm is hanging at the side, where the dumbbell produces almost zero resistance. With a dumbbell, the first 20 degrees of the raise are essentially free. The cable loads the muscle from the very first degree of movement. That's not a minor difference. That's an entirely different stimulus across a range the dumbbell never touches. Cross-body cable raise, cable set at the opposite hip, arm pulling across and out, produces the deepest stretch on the lateral delt of any variation in existence. Use the dumbbell for heavier loading. Use the cable for maximum range and tension. They're not competing. They're completing each other. The rear delt fly. The rear delt is the most neglected muscle in the shoulder. Not because people forget it exists, because it's invisible from the front, and most people train for mirrors. Every pressing movement pulls the arm forward. The rear delt is the counterforce keeping the joint centered. Neglect it long enough and the shoulder rolls forward, posture rounds, and the joint starts grinding where it should be gliding. Hinge forward, torso parallel to the floor, arms hanging below the chest, raise them directly out to the sides, pure horizontal abduction. Not a row, not a shrug, arms moving directly outward. Here's what most people miss. The rear delt does not respond to heavy weight. It responds to range and control. Go too heavy and the traps steal every rep. The weight should feel almost embarrassingly light. That means it's working. The upright row. The upright row has a bad reputation, partially deserved, mostly misunderstood. The narrow grip version, elbows pulled high above the shoulder, internally rotates the joint under load. For people with existing shoulder issues, that's a real problem. But here's what most people miss. Widen the grip. Hands just beyond shoulder width. Elbows staying below shoulder height. The internal rotation disappears entirely. The lateral delt and upper trap get loaded through a natural range with no joint compromise. Wide grip upright row is essentially a lateral raise with bent elbows. Slightly more mechanical advantage. Allows heavier loading. Gives feedback to people who struggle to feel the lateral delt on standard raises. Don't abandon the exercise because of what the wrong version does.